Hi there. Just to take note, this book review and its contents are solely the views and perspectives from the author and the book, and not my personal opinions. In addition, this video is not made to hate or judge one group of people or a particular person. With that, let's get on with the video. Hi there, and welcome back to yet another episode of Book Club. In today's episode, we will be looking at yet another amazing book worth reading. And today's book is called The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which also has a great accompanying movie. So before starting off the video, this book was recommended to me by my good friend Lamb Sauce Special. Thank you so much for the recommendation, and let's get on with the video. So starting us off today, the author of this incredible book is John Boyne. John Boyne is an Irish novelist who's written 12 adult stories and 6 books for children. This book, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which was written in 2006, was also adapted into a movie in 2008 with the same name. And this book alone got 12 awards, with the biggest awards being the Irish Children's Book of the Year and the International IPAC Literary Award. So starting us off, I'll be giving a synopsis of this book, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. So this book starts off with Bruno, a 9-year-old who lives in Berlin, Germany in 1943. As one day he comes home, he finds out that his maid is packing up all his stuff. So Bruno asks his mother why all of his stuff is being packed up. And his mother explains that due to the demands of his father's new job, Bruno has to move to another place. So all of them were packing up their stuff, and after that the mother explained why. So last week, Adolf Hitler came to Bruno's house and promoted Bruno's father. And now, since Bruno's father was a commandant in the German force and army, he needed to be more, he had more demands, and he couldn't make it in time for certain things. So he had to move. And Bruno's father was a very strict and stern person. But even though he was strict and stern, he still kept his care and love for his family. So as they were going to pack out and move, Bruno's grandmother, parents, siblings, friends, all had to be left behind. And he had to leave the hustling and bustling city of Berlin. But at first, Bruno's grandmother was not very happy with the decision Bruno's father made, because he took up the job of Hitler. And Bruno's grandmother did not like that. And Bruno's grandmother was a famous singer last time. But Bruno's father countered that point and said that it was a great honor and it was good for the fatherland of Germany. So they gathered all of their stuff and they board the train to their house. Once they arrive in their house is in a very desolate and isolated area, in which the only thing is a fence nearby in which houses people. But other than that, there is no one for company except for his 12-year-old sister Gretel, who he does not get along with for company. In that house, Bruno's house, there are 2 people that he knows, which are Maria, the maid, and Lars, the butler, who basically staffs the house. And there are new people such as new maids and new butlers taking care of the house, in which Bruno has never seen before. As one who is called Patel. Patel was a stooped man who was in his mid-40s, and he one day cleaned Bruno's leg when he was injured. And during that time, Bruno only thought of Patel as a person who takes care as a butler, but he was also a doctor, and Patel tells him the story that he is a doctor in the opposing side, in which there was a camp there, and in which Bruno could see from his window, which was a sandy camp with people in striped pajamas. So this place Bruno could not pronounce it properly and in which he called it out with, but the actual name was Auschwitz. As the story progresses, Bruno begins to settle into life at the Auschwitz, and he begins to dislike this lieutenant called Lieutenant Coulter, who is a very harsh and demanding person. Though he may seem harsh to other people, Gretel has a crush on him, and his mother, Bruno's mother, tends to like him as he was very nice to the family. But he was very harsh and always calls Bruno little man. As the book goes on and the story progresses, Bruno gets history lessons from a teacher called Her List, in which she teaches Bruno about why they are at the Auschwitz, in which she tells Bruno that it was to settle the doings of some great wrongs, in which they had to be banished, and all the things that were done wrong to this country and bad were to be banished, in which was the reason why they came to Auschwitz. And then Gretel also starts becoming very into politics and history, and always uses pushpins on her walls to indicate news on the maps as well. Going on in the book, Bruno misses the enjoyment and the excitement of exploring in Berlin. So he walks along the length of the fence, though he is forbidden to go there. As he goes on, he meets a boy the same age as him called Schimmel, who then both of them they strike up a new friendship, and Bruno begins to visit Schimmel every day. And Schimmel tells Bruno the story of how he ended up in this camp, in which he was taken away by soldiers from his home in Krakow, Poland, to this camp called Auschwitz, which later Bruno realizes is also in Poland. And though they just started out the friendship, Bruno still compels to Schimmel's asking for food and basic necessities as well. Bruno also realizes that Schimmel was also wearing the striped pajamas that he saw from his window, in which many people wore in that camp. Now, Bruno begins to like life more and much more as his friendship with Schimmel develops and continues growing. One day though, Bruno was surprised to find out that his friend Schimmel was at his house, and that Lieutenant Coulter brought him over to shine the family's small little wine glasses, in which can be only done by people with small hands and children basically. So now, Bruno nonchalantly gives his friend Schimmel a leftover piece of chicken, and Lieutenant Coulter finds out, and he demands to know whether Schimmel knows Bruno. Bruno, terrified, says that he does not know who Schimmel is and has never contacted with him. But in the end, Schimmel gets beaten up. The next big thing that happened was that Lieutenant Coulter was transferred out of Auschwitz, or Auschwitz, because he told his commander, Bruno's father, that his father fled from Germany to Switzerland in 1938 in the onset of World War II. Now, Bruno's mother eventually convinces Bruno's father that they should go back to Berlin and continue living there. And his father consents to it, but tells them that he has to stay at Auschwitz to carry out his duties as the commandant and carry out the duties prescribed to him and given to him by Adolf Hitler. So Bruno is very saddened by the fact that he's leaving his only friend and his very true friend behind Schimmel. But that day, on the day he's leaving, on the day they're saying goodbyes to each other, Schimmel tells, and they all plan together an idea in which Bruno dresses up in pajamas, in the striped pajamas, and goes to that Schimmel's side of the area, the fence, to experience what life is like for him. This was in order to help Schimmel find his father, who he had not seen for many days. Bruno's mother and his sister returns to Berlin, not finding Bruno, and Bruno was never heard from onwards from that day. So after that, Bruno's father asks around, and then they find out that Bruno's clothes and boots were found outside the fence that he had changed in. And then, together with a lot of evidences collected from soldiers, he realizes that his son had his grim fate and that he passed away. And also, the soldiers tend to not like him anymore for his merciless orders. And knowing that his son has this grim fate, he came to a big weight of realization. And he after that did not care about what happened to him, because he already knew that his son had died inside the camp. And the biggest part of this book was that after that, he compiles with all the orders from the soldiers. But the biggest part of this book was that he, being a commander of Auschwitz, realizes how it feels to lose someone close to you, such as his son, in which many people at the concentration camp do feel when they lose their loved ones. I'm not gonna expose everything from the book, or else it will lose its essence. But I really hope you read the book to find out more and what happens in the end, and what was the reason that Bruno died. Now I'll be going through my takeaways from this book about the characters and about what are the key things that I learned from this book. The first lesson that I learned from this book is the power of friendship and love. Together, both of these can overcome the most inhumane and brutal places, in which Bruno and Schimmel, we can see from them that though they were surrounded by so much brutality, hate, and so many bad things, they still developed a really good friendship, and they were really good friends and never betrayed each other. And also, though they die at the end of the story, their friendship transcends into the physical realm. My second lesson that I learned is from Bruno as well, that we should treat others the way that we want to be treated. We can see that from Bruno's innocence that he treats people with respect and a lot of compassion, because even though the other characters do not treat other people the same way. This can also be seen how Bruno treats them with respect, though he is growing up in inhumane conditions with so much brutality and hate. Now that I've talked about the takeaways from the characters, I'll be talking about the takeaways from the book, more specifically the writing style of John Boyne. From this book was written in the third-person omniscient view, in which the whole story and the majority of the story was the point of view from Bruno, a 9-year-old boy living in Germany who was German, whose father has just been promoted to a commander in the concentration camp in Auschwitz. And in the majority of the book still remains in Bruno's head, expressing the thoughts, feelings, and emotions felt by this 9-year-old boy, in which makes this book really special and makes this book stand out, because it's written from Bruno's point of view, which also makes it limited, but makes it very different from others. But towards the end, it also shows the viewpoint of Bruno's father, in which he shows his emotions of losing his son because he knew what happened to him, which was the greatest part of this book, which also expresses the takeaway that I said earlier. If you want, treat others the way that you want to be treated as well, in which though he commanded the killing of many, his son also was part of them, in which was the greatest takeaway from this book. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, please slap that like button. And now, as said again, if you really enjoy reading books and really do enjoy analyzing and keeping up to date with the latest books and quality books, then please do consider subscribing to this channel. And I'll leave all the links in the description below if you want to check out more things about the Boy in the Striped Pajamas, information revolving around it, and more information about John Boyne and the author. And also, there is a movie for this, and I'll also leave the links in the description for the movie of The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which was equally as good as the book. And feel free to check them out. With that, See you again for another epic episode of Book Club.